Hi teachers, glad you could drop by to learn about some great games that are super popular at Sullivan. Jerome and I have been teaching for many years, and today we're going to talk about some no-fail games that always brighten up the classroom. Sometimes students come to class and are a little lethargic. They've worked all day long, so why not play a game? Sometimes you have 10 minutes left and students are looking a little glassy-eyed, so you don't have to panic, you can just play a game. And of course, many games are great at reviewing vocabulary that you've seen in class. You can play for points, but you don't have to, as many people just like contributing to a team or a group. So without further ado, here we go.
Number 1, 2 lies and 1 truth. Ask the students to write down 3 sentences without sharing them. Ask them to write down 1 sentence about something they have actually done in their lives. It could be something special or once in a lifetime. You may have to help them by saying it can be travel-oriented, an interesting job, period in their lives, something funny that happened, and so on. Then ask them to write down 2 lies, things that they have not actually done. Of course, this can take some time as students can have trouble creating these, but you can help them a little. Once this is done, choose a student to go first. The other students have to ask questions about these 3 statements to determine which is true and which is false. If you have many students in a class, you can have them write down 1 lie and 1 truth at the beginning. The students ask questions for about 3, maybe 5 minutes, and of course you correct their question structures. After this, you ask the students to tell you which statement is true and which is false, and they vote. This leads to a lot of fun. Then proceed to the next student.
Next, we have 8 of, which is one of my personal favorites. In this game, the teacher chooses a category that reflects the class level and asks students to write 8 examples of objects in this category, perhaps 5 if the class is at a lower level. For example, for a level 2, you can choose vegetables or fruit. For a level 6, you can choose phrasal verbs. You then say write, and the students must write down 8 examples from the category. They get really into it. When one is finished, they put up their hand and everyone must stop. Write the examples on the board or whiteboard and give points to each student. After you've spoken to all the students, you can add 3 more examples for the category, which is a great learning moment for them. Some categories that are really good are weather, emotions, past tense verbs, phrasal verbs, verbs for work, furniture, reasons for not going to work. Hey, use your imagination.
Next up is back-to-back. This game is best played when you're physically on-site at a company. You put students into pairs with one facing the board and the other with their back to the board. You tell them no French, no hand signals, no sounds are allowed, and that the student facing the board must describe the word or sentence on the board without saying the actual words. For example, with Tropical Island, you can say, "It is a place in the ocean, there are palm trees, there is sand, it is surrounded by water, Cuba has many of these," and so on. The student with their back to the board must try and guess what the word is. You can give them like 3 or 5 minutes to find the answer. The first pair that succeeds gets the point. So some examples you can write on the board: a crying baby, a rainy day, a blackout, a lucky day, déjà vu, a bad hair day, or the phrase to take advantage of, and so on.
And finally, we have Scattergories. This game is borrowed from the popular game Scattergories as it works well in class, so I'm sure you've already played it with your friends. The teacher writes 6 categories on the board or whiteboard and then writes a letter next to the list, such as the letter S. Some examples would be weather, a storm, for sports, soccer, past tense verb, scent, emotion, sad, famous person, Sylvester Stallone, in the home, shower, and phrasal verbs, stop by. You can also have food, steak. The students are then instructed to find a word that begins with S for each category. They are allowed to miss 1 category. The teacher says go, and the game begins, and people are totally into this. When one student has completed at least 5 of the 6 categories, the teacher yells stop, and the student reads out his answer and is awarded points. The teacher then asks each of the students for their answers and are awarded points. At the end, the teacher adds some answers for each category. You can play 4 to 6 rounds of this, or until people are visibly tired. Obviously, some letters are easier than others, so be careful. Letters such as S, C, L, M, and G are good.
Games are an important way of lightening up the class while reviewing vocabulary. It can reset the mood in the class if the students are tired or if they've had a rough day. I would play a game every 3rd class in a group setting and a few times with private students as well.
Have fun!